Ariel was absolutely my first. I
Oh
think I got
yeah.
my first boner watching Ariel, and I still don't know why, but that for sure was when I was like, "Oh, what's going on?"
Yeah.
Are you watching Generation V?
It's not ringing a bell, so I don't think so.
You know the boys?
The boys, yeah.
They did a spin-off where it's just college students.
Oh, okay.
So
Is it
it's
is it
called
good?
Generation V. It's I mean, it's the yeah. If you like the
Okay.
boys, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't like this. It's the same stuff. But the college is supposed to be like if you go to this college, then you get like if you're like one of the top people in that college, then you get a beeline straight to whatever that Justice League group is called. So that's how
Mm,
they pick the new Justice League members.
sure. Okay.
Shit hits the fan and things go down. So I mean, it's the same thing as the boys, but just with college students. So I really do enjoy it.
Okay. Yeah, I've been taking a hiatus away from some of the like darker stuff. Just yeah, as we started today's podcast, I've spent a lot of time in the heavy. I'm trying to get to the lighter. I've been in a season of rewatching all my Disney classics, the hard hitters from my childhood. So,
Like what?
like Hercules
I
is
love Hercules. Are you excited for the live action remake?
I didn't even know about it, but I am
They're
now.
making a live. It's reported that Ariana Grande is going to be Meg, but I don't know if
Hmm.
you're an Ariana Grande fan.
I no, I think I was just after or just before that. Like I know
Um,
who he is, but I
yeah.
don't know her music.
Yeah. I loved Hercules. That was probably one of my, I would say top. I would say top two. Like if it was my second favorite, because Ariel was absolutely my first. I
Oh
think I got
yeah.
my first boner watching Ariel, and I still don't know why, but that for sure was when I was like, oh, what's going on here?
What's happening here?
Yeah, I ran that movie to the core, and I actually watched the live action remake, and that was really good. I just lost my Disney because I was using a friend's, and then he moved in with his girlfriend, so they kind of consolidated their apps. And I'm cheap, so I was like, I don't know. And there's also there's really, in my opinion, nothing on it that much. But I just watched The Little Mermaid and I want to watch it again. It was so good. And as an adult watching it, it's a girl who's like, I'm tired of this world and I want to find another world. I want to go out and I want to explore. And their family's like, no, you got to stay here. Like, you got to be with us. And she's like, no, dad, leave me alone. So it's just so funny that that was something that I gravitated as a kid. And then now as an adult, I was like, oh, there's a message behind this it's like what I like to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say like for me to work on that darkness, and like face myself, figure out where I'm going wrong, like
Yeah.
it almost like I always learn more about myself
Mhm.
when I connect to some strong emotion from my childhood,
Mhm.
right?
What does
Whether it be
Hercules teach you? What is the lesson you learned from Hercules watching it again as an adult?
um one of the things I struggle with a lot right now is so I was naturally gifted at a
Mhm.
lot of things growing up.
Mhm.
And like I always struggle talking about this because it's like, oh yeah, who can find the bad thing in that, right? But like I was good at a lot of things that I tried like the first time, and for a long time, like up until the ages of like fourth or fifth grade, like that was the thing that people loved about me the most. Like that,
Mhm.
all my friends were just like, yeah, let's go try this thing out and like watch how good Brian is at it, and he hasn't tried it, and I loved that. And then at a certain point, that became the place of jealousy, and
Mhm.
like people started to not be so nice to me anymore, and like people started to then hold me to that higher standard that could no longer be maintained forever into the future. And that's like when a lot of my self-consciousness started, was like when I was no longer good at things in the first try, because things get harder and harder as you get older.
Mhm.
um so that's one where it's just kind of, you kind of feel different, and like for the like a thing that, Hercules is really strong. Like that's a really enviable thing, but he hasn't learned how to harness it, right? I feel like I have gifts that I've ignored for
Mhm.
most of my life because I was told that they weren't good, and I couldn't harness it at an age where it made sense that I wouldn't be able to harness that. and I'm just trying to grow into that now. So that's a big one for me.
That's interesting. I
Um,
never got that from that movie. Like I never, maybe because I was a kid the last time I saw that. So that's kind of what I was like asking, like, what messages are there? And it's funny that you say that because I always struggle with this too. This idea of like being great at everything and being a natural great at everything. I always feel like there's a downfall to that because like, one thing I was like, if I was a parent, would I teach my kid that winning is everything? And I don't think I will. I look at athletes too when they're like, I have to win, I have to be a gold medalist, I have to be at the top. And I'm like, I feel like that's a dangerous mindset because when you don't, then you crumble. And it's just like, I feel like if I would never teach my kid that winning is everything because life doesn't work that way. Like we just talked about when we started this podcast, how you set out to do something and then life was shifted. You may not win at football and break your knee, but then you become a great motivational speaker and now you're the next Oprah. Like you, but you would have never got there if you would have been like, if you would have let that depression get to you because you thought that being naturally good at something is the way to go and being the best is the best thing you can do. I feel like it doesn't teach kids to fail and to get up from their failure and to learn from their failure. And like
right.
the story of Tony Hawk, how he talked about how he was not made for soccer, but or skateboarding, but he continued to do it, and now he's one of the greatest. That's if someone like a parent's like, "You're not great for football, so I'm going to pull you out." Well, you never know. If he continued to work hard at it, he probably could have been the next quarterback. So it's interesting that you have that kind of thing in your life in your
Yeah.
childhood.
Well, and like, yeah, like, so not only culturally, like what you're talking about, but like also throw in, and here's where I'm going to speak, you know, a little bit poorly about my parents, but like, throw in that when I got first place
Yeah.
was some of the only times that I felt like truly unconditionally loved by my parents.
Hmm.
Like, throw that in the mix too, and then it becomes really hard when you're not getting first place. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, I love them to death. They've supported me in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
but like, I was a sensitive kid. I was paying attention to everything. And I saw that the smile on your face was different when I got first compared to when I got second.
Yeah. Have you watched that David Beckham soccer thing on
um,
Netflix?
I need to.
You need to.
You're like the third or fourth person to recommend it.
Yeah, it's so good. Especially
Okay.
his father's relationship and exactly what you just said. You will see that in David's relationship. But it's just so funny how trauma works because one thing I love about Netflix documentaries is in my opinion, it doesn't make you view someone a different way. I feel like they give a really good like, here is the story, and you
Mhm.
take it how you want to take it. Like some documentaries are like, we're rooting for the good guy and whatever, whatever. But or maybe I'm just mature and I'll look at the story a more holistic view because David Beckham will not be David Beckham if it wasn't for the shit that his dad put him through. Like
Right.
but it sucks that he went through that. It really. I mean, he has severe OCD, which I'm not giving anything away. Like that's his mental illness,
Hmm.
but it makes sense because of how his dad treated him. But also, he's David Beckham, so it's kind of like this weird. As an adult, I'm learning like the trauma that your parents gave you, you know, and how it makes you the person that you are today. Like if my parents talked to me the amount of the amount of time I needed them to like interact with me. Like my parents were the parents loved doing that, but they were the parents that were like, the bills are paid, you're fed, you're clothed, you're good. And so,
Okay.
I developed this career where I communicate to people because I feel like I didn't have that time with my parents. So, well, but if I did, then where would I have been? So it's just interesting that, you know, what
Yeah.
you just said.
I mean, yeah, part of getting through it and like going on this journey where we're trying to fulfill ourselves, right? Is like being able to look at that and then hopefully like transmutating that energy or that thing into a really positive thing.
Yeah.
Because like obviously there's a lot of ways in which, you know, perfectionism, like
Yeah.
I struggle with that like severely. Like there's obviously a ton of ways that that doesn't serve me,
Yeah.
but there's a few that it serves me incredibly well.
Yeah.
And so like doing a woodworking project,
Yeah.
right? Like I do a lot of patterns. So like having that is a superpower
Mhm.
if I can remember to only apply it to the things where it should be applied to.
Mhm.
And so yeah, part of becoming who we want to be is looking at it objectively and then directing it in a way that's actually beneficial for us because it's part of us and we should also be proud of that.
Yeah.
And it's
What
hard, but
what other Disney movies are you watching? First of all, do you have somewhere to be? Because now I'm just like hanging out
no,
at this point. Okay,
yeah, I'm good too. I rewatch well some newer ones. Encanto, like
great.
I'm a,
Well,
I'm a I'm a huge sensitive boy, so I've been crying a lot
I've never cried in Encanto. I get it, but I just never did.
during movies. So yeah, that like I feel like so like all the different characters are supposed to be like different coping mechanisms.
Yes.
It hurts every time I watch that movie because it's like, man, I got every single one of these.
Wait, what was it? What was it? What are they? The daughter who is strong feels like she has to be the older one that like takes care of the
Taking
family.
all the effort.
Yes.
Yeah,
The pretty one, what was her problem?
perfectionism.
Oh. What about
The one that can hear everything is hypervigilance.
what does that even mean? Like you're just too
Hyper
aware?
hypervigilance is like, yeah, you have to be aware and like record everything so you can like lawyer your way out of a situation. Like, no, actually, this happened, and it's the only way I can keep myself safe. So you have to like know everything in
Yeah.
chronological order, exactly how things happen.
Yeah.
At least that's how it comes out for me.
Mhm.
And Bruno's kind of like the one who thinks that all his effort needs to be for the family, but he'll never get anything out of it. I don't relate as much with that one, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I've
So
never
and
go
then the main girl is like more about like she doesn't have the superpower, right? But you realize that what she does throughout the movie is she breaks down the bad so that it can be rebuilt into
Mhm.
something good. And so I relate to that too. Like
Mhm.
I I haven't always been the most tactful with
Mhm.
answering questions. Like I'm
Yes.
always that guy who like, hey, how are you today? I'm
Yeah.
like, well, pretty shitty. Like this thing just happened 2 hours ago, and like people don't want that.
Yes. Yes. I wanna talk to you about being sensitive. I used to get
Yeah.
that all the fucking time, and I thought it was because it was tied to my sexuality. I don't know. I think straight men don't get the "you're sensitive" because I don't think they're allowed to be sensitive. And I just maybe because 'cause I'm born gay and I'm just naturally this way that I'm sensitive. But I've learned that watching other artists that you kind of like have to be sensitive. I think when I hear what people define an artist is someone that can communicate how the world is feeling, like communicating what's going on at that time. And as I watching, TikTok and stuff like that, and I was just talking about how like no one's having fun anymore. It's just like it's just like everyone's doing everything just to get the next check and no one's like actually having fun. I
Mhm.
don't know if that's me being so, a lot of my friends also say you're emotionally aware. I don't know if that's because of trauma in my life or because I'm sensitive. So I'm trying to like balance what it means to be sensitive. And I feel like as someone who has to create, you have to be sensitive to how people feel. You have to hear that, you have to digest that, you have to grapple with that so then you could put that into your art.
Mhm.
And I'm realizing how the responsibility it is to be sensitive. I think it's so easy to not be sensitive and so dangerous when people are sensitive around you. And then people like a lot of my cousins, they like, let's just say they just bump into me all the time. I'm like, please stop. And they're like, well, you're being sensitive. It's like, no, it's just like you are just too fucking rough because you just can't like wake up and just like learn emotion. So I guess sensitive to me because it always was something I got all the time, stop crying, stop being a girl. And it always hurt me because I took it as like being gay in a sexual thing. But or I guess not a sexual thing, but like my sexuality. But as an adult, I'm like, oh, I kind of need to be that way. Like it saves me. Like, when you're sitting in a room full
Mhm.
of people and one of your friends is dating a guy and like all of a sudden his body language move, you're like, oh, okay, well, something's about to happen. Like it saves you, it helps you, it prepares you, and you need that. I don't think I would be the conversationalist if I wasn't sensitive because I need to hear what you're saying. Or like when Angela did her podcast and I asked her if she had kids, I immediately felt her emotion change. I was like, "Whoa, what was that? I guess there's something there that I don't know if I wanna
Yeah.
poke it." So, how do you I mean, I guess you have a different perspective because 'cause you're a straight guy, like, how do you feel being sensitive as a straight guy?
Well, it's something that, like I've kind of always known like in the background, but it's like that side of me I really like locked in a box for
Mhm,
a long time. That
mhm,
part of me was not allowed to run the show
mhm,
because I heard a lot of the same things like, no, you're too sensitive, or I was too needy. That was
mhm.
a thing I heard a lot growing up from family members, other people. Like I was a very needy person, and I learned very
Well, what do you
quickly
think
how to be good and not need anything.
Yeah,
I was just like I needed emotional connection. Like
yes.
I think that's how I describe being sensitive is like I needed to I was experiencing something that like on a regular basis to a depth or a level that my family wasn't.
Mhm,
Like, and that's just like the truth.
mhm.
And that felt very isolating. And so like for me in the last year, it's just been like exploring that with
Yeah,
like with not with less judgment. I can't do it completely void of judgment yet
yeah.
because of the way I was brought up, but like it's been yeah, it's obviously saved me a lot. I think for the big decisions in my life, I think that was what was driving how I acted, but I didn't know that was the case. And then I knew I was perceived as sensitive, so then I just shamed myself. So
Mhm,
most of my life is just that dynamic.
mhm.
And now I'm getting to a place of like, no, this is actually a really good thing. I need to learn how to own it.
Yeah.
And like actually like it helps keep me safe, like you said, in a lot of different ways. But it also I want to keep like pushing it further and like see part of I guess my trauma too and my automatic responses is my people pleasing really is I try to make sure everybody else is okay. And I'm because I'm sensitive, I'm really well able to do that.
Yeah,
But that's another thing. It's like just because I can
yeah,
doesn't mean I should.
yeah,
And I'm starting to learn that. So yeah, it's been tough. It's been a
yeah,
mixed bag, but I'm proud of it now.
yeah. Yeah, I think that too as a people pleaser, I look at it as also being a host, like, sometimes I'm like, "Oh, I am a good host because host means a lot of different things, but I think the one of the ingredients, in my opinion, of being a host is you have to be a people pleaser, like, when people come over to your house, it's first impressions, like, it
Mhm.
comes down to the smell of your house, because the minute you don't have the right smell, it's a wrap. And they can be like, "Oh, well, it smells like fish," and now you gotta worry about that. And then if they're not comfortable, if they're looking around too much, or like your toilets, it's like, but I thrive on that too. So it's a weird. I don't know. Maybe I should have a conversation with our therapist about this. Is like, are we thriving in our trauma? Like, are we just naturally just born in the darkness, like the Bane said that, I was born in the darkness, you merely played in it. And it's just like, is that what it is? Is like we were thrown in the darkness and we learned how to play in it? Because I love having friends over. I love hosting. I love having a host or being a host. I love cleaning. I love, like, I got to clean 2 days before so the pine sol smell can go away and the natural smells can sit in. Like, it's a math for me. But it really
Yeah.
comes down to making sure that when that person steps in front of this door, that every sense of every sight, touch, smell, whatever is happy. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So I think it's super good. Like there's obviously parts of that that are really good,
yeah.
right? Like of having people feel welcome, like showing them that you care in certain ways that matter to you. But like as soon as that becomes like, oh shit, people are gonna be here in 2 hours and I'm
Hmm.
fucking panicking and I'm losing my shit, like then it's not as good for you. And like, can you said like Bane, like go into the darkness and figure that out. I think we can always make progress. But another way of looking at it that I've started to learn is like, okay, let's say you're the host,
Yeah.
right? And you like doing that, but it gets to a point where there are things that stress you out more than they're helping. What friends do you have
Mhm.
that can be there too
Mhm.
and understand that that's your role and
Mhm.
understand the pitfalls of thinking that way, and they can be there to support you?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so surround yourself with people who you have a vulnerable enough connection with
Yes.
who know that and then can provide support because your friends want to do that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
they like my friends do like they're really great. If I'm hosting, they'll be like, "We're fine." Like, just let you know we're fine. I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
okay, cool." Like, 'cause I'm like,
well,
guys,
then
we can
people
do
know.
something else. Or like my friend Erica came over. I'm like, how does my house smell? Because I saw it on her face. Like she took a big whiff. And she's like, it smells like you live here. Like you know, and she's like, it's not a bad thing, but you obviously cook and you obviously make food. It smells like your food. And so I had a maintenance man at my old apartment. I did the same thing too, and he's like, "It smells like you make food here, and that's the whole point is is your home. You're going to make food, and it's going to smell like food." So I was like, "Okay, okay, fine. I guess it doesn't smell like raindrops on the forest wind, the Glade plugin that I put in, but yeah." So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I've been trying to leverage friendships
yes,
for things that I worry about. If
yes,
like the best thing I can do is let you know, hey, here's a pitfall I might fall into. You can see it better than I can. Can you at least tell me when I'm close to approaching it? And
yes, yeah,
that's the only way I know how to ask for help. I can't like in the moment be like, I need you to tell me that this room smells good. I'll
hmm
never think of that.
hmm
But I would need somebody to step in and be like, hey, you've got it. Like your turn to relax.
yeah,
Like let us worry about this
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
super
Yeah,
important.
that reminds me of when we were talking earlier about how my friends, even if they don't see themselves here, they still help in many, many ways. Because like when that
Mhm.
guy gave me poor advice, the first person I called was Haley, and I was like, like I gotta, tell you this. And she was very good at like, and I told you that she was very good at like, helping me not fall over the edge. And then clearly it didn't help because then I called you. I was like, I'm still on the edge.
It happens.
Yes, yes. All right, Brian. Well, I know this long ass podcast is going to be very heavy for my editing software to digest. So I'm trying to give it like small increments. I was sitting on the couch the other day and I was like, I kind of just like having an hour long podcast. But this hour went by so fast. And sometimes I
So
feel
great.
like we did like I feel like are we done though? Like I feel like is there more? Can we give more? Like did we answer the like if someone picked up this podcast, did they walk away with something? Like are you guys walk away with something? You know what I mean? That's what's in the back of my mind. Is like did I complete the story? Is there a beginning? Is there a middle? Is there an end? Is there a journey? Is there something that people can learn? But I feel like,
Mhm.
my heart was like, okay, I feel like we got it. But you were talking about, first of all, I want to say, is there anything else that you want to talk about or, because I mean,
Yeah.
I have
I
nothing else
mean, it,
the rest of the day. So,
I just want to like thank you again for having me on because like I think what's so cool about like it's, we're all at different area like places of growth
yeah.
on our journey,
Yeah.
right? And like in a lot of really similar ways, you and I are figuring out similar things at the same
hmm
time from
hmm
different directions, different angles, and so like it's just like a huge blessing for me to have you in my life and
Oh,
like
Jesus Christ.
be able to share this and like it honestly it helps so much just to like talk to you about like
Yes.
you're somebody who's trying to grow yourself and being super honest about how hard that is. And
Mhm.
I mean, I think I'm pretty good at meeting you right there. And like just how helpful it is to just find people who are in the same place as you.
Yeah.
And you can read all you ever need to read and like get all the same information. Like there's nothing that you and I are saying that is totally brand new, but it helps to have a live person who you have a relationship
Yes.
who I care about your
Yeah.
success
Yeah.
because you're my friend and like I want to do whatever I can to help
Yeah.
you. And just so you know, having me on is like treasure to me
Oh, Jesus
because
Lord.
I can go back and listen to this. So even
Yeah.
if people didn't get anything from this, I'm going to.
Yes.
And so you can rest easy on that I got a lot out of this.
Perfect.
So that's my ending.
Well, thanks. I mean, I always, when I called you because that person it's just like, man, that really, it just took the wind out of me. But you definitely, you definitely helped. And I really appreciate that. And I was thinking about when I was making breakfast today, and I was like, wow, like, it's a straight guy and a gay guy are literally about to sit and talk about their life and their struggles and their feelings. And it's just like, what kind of platform I wouldn't like, if you would have asked me that in high school, I'd be like, straight men? Like, absolutely not. They're like threatening and dangerous, and sometimes they're still threatening and they're still dangerous. But it is nice. I remember in high school, I was just like, it was more college. I was like, I'm going to flirt with all the straight guys because I wanted to get them on my side. And then I remember my friend Hannah, we were in the bar and she was like, everyone just talks to you. I'm like, no, they don't. And I guess I am like a social butterfly, but the reason why they talk to me, especially the straight guys, is because I was so afraid of them that something inside of me was like, not like let's flirt with them, like let's try to seduce them, but men are, in my opinion, like dogs. And not like the rough, rowdy dogs, but lots of dogs love attention. They don't care
Oh yeah.
who it's from, they just love the attention. So I was like, well, if I just give them attention and talk to them, then maybe I won't feel threatened by them and they won't feel threatened by me. But I say that because now it's just interesting that I have straight friends and it's way past the threatening part. You know what I mean? It's like it's either calling them up when you just got the wind knocked out of you and being like, what the fuck? And then having them like give you words of encouragement of like, no, we're going to ignore that. And we're just going to keep going and middle fingers in the air. So I really do appreciate that too. Cause sometimes, it's nice to just have guy friends as a gay. It's just nice to have straight guy friends and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you about the non-threatening thing because maybe you felt afraid or whatever, but like
Mhm.
I also think, I mean, you tell yourself the story that it's just because you just want to give them attention, and that's like creating a relationship. I think what I see, and again, the compliment that you dismissed, is that like you actually care to get to know people, and
Yes.
so both things are true. And I think you can be trying to just have a conversation,
Mhm.
but it's clear to the people that you're talking to
Mhm.
that you actually want to get to know their inner
Mhm.
experience.
Mhm.
And it might only be because you want to learn something
Mhm.
from that, like different perspectives sometimes, but that's okay. Like
Yeah.
I can tell you want to get to know me better. And
Yes.
so that I'm always going to meet you right back with
Yeah.
that same energy.
It's funny that you said that. There's this guy, and I was like, wow, like, I don't know what it is, but like something's drawing me to this man. And all day we were in the same group, and I was like, I knew because I was excited that I can either rub people the wrong way. I know if I get excited and I just because I want to talk, and a lot of people, he's very reserved and he was very quiet. So that can really throw people off when I'm not reserved and I'm not quiet. And so I'm like in your face. I met you for the first time. I'm asking you questions. So subconsciously, I'm like, we gotta back up. You know what I mean? And so I was like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. So I had to pick something up from his house. And so I was like, do you want, oh, I left something. I can't remember what I left. And I was like, oh, can I pick it up? And he's like, yeah. And then I was like, do you want to like smoke a joint? Cause he smokes weed. He's like, yeah. So I was like, let's smoke a joint. And so we sat there, we had a conversation. He told me he used to sell drugs too. And so he told me about like his experience selling drugs and all these like stories. And I was just sitting there. I'm like, this is why I got into podcasting. And like, this is why I did it because I'm like, I met this guy once. We're sitting smoking a joint. I'm asking questions. We're finding commonality where I learned so much. I laughed. I was like, wow, what a fucking life. Going back to what you're saying about, you really care about people. I think having conversations just helps me connect to people. That's why I have a
Mhm.
very hard time dating because on dating line or dating apps, it's just like one word answers and I can't connect. And
Yeah.
so I think that's what it is. I truly do enjoy people. I've always said that I rather talk to a person than read a book. I think people have their own stories just as books do. That goes like I hate reading. Like I absolutely hate reading. I can't do it. But I just listened to the Britney Spears memoir and I finished that in like a day. So I can listen well, which is funny because that guy who gave me poor advice said I wasn't a good listener. But anyway, I want to say thank you. I enjoyed our time. I felt like the time went by so fast.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, I want to have fun. I feel like I'm finding it. I'm feeling like my fire is warming up. I'm like, okay, okay. I need more of this. It's like I need more people. I need more people, and I feel like the more people I have, the better that this would be, and stuff like that. So thank you for always being my test subject and
You got it,
always
man.
being down to help me, uh, you know, help me with my first match. I would say.
You bet. I had a lot of fun.